Well, obviously, if you're kind of sitting on the fence, you need to get off the fence, right? I mean, action, action, action. And then obviously, I think if you just have that mentality, it'll kind of carry you through everything.
Hello everyone, Jack Bosch speaking here with the #1 source for real estate and financial information on YouTube and on podcasts, right? So today's guest is Chris Eymann, good friend of mine. Chris and I have done business together. He's one of the biggest wholesalers really in the country. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right. So let's start right away. Give us a little bit of introduction about who you are and what you do in real estate.
So I'm a wholesaler. I started in '99. I've been doing it for 21 years. I kind of cut my teeth at the foreclosure sales way before all this social media and crazy stuff that we have now is out there. So, it was just going to the courthouse with, making a list and bidding on properties. And then, that's involved to, direct to seller and all the other stuff that we do to get houses now. So,
right. So direct to seller means like direct mail, following with social media, all this kind of maximize strategies to find.
We get the most out of, we've done some texting, we've done some direct mail, some cold calling, but we kind of feel like cold callings are kind of bread and butter. So, we use cold calling, kind of a VA does the cold calling to then an inside sales manager to, make sure that the lead's valid, to the acquisition manager, then over to underwriting, then back to the acquisition manager to make the offer and, kind of the system that goes.
Okay, so we're talking about houses here, right? We're talking about house wholesaling. And to break it down just a few steps, if you're a beginning real estate investor. So what Chris is talking about is how to get a house deal. And obviously there is a lot of competition in housing.
For sure.
So you gotta be really knowing your numbers well, and you gotta be dialed in on finding these people. So what you're saying is one of the #1 sources of deals you find is from cold calling. So when you cold call, where do you get those numbers from?
We just, obviously we're using lists and we're stacking lists. So absentee owner with equity and, just kind of the different lists that we use. And then, once we get our list, then we send it off and get it skip traced. Then we get the list back and then we send it off to our VAs that start doing the dialing. So
doing the dialing. So
yeah.
Now that, in how many markets are you operating in?
We just do Arizona and Florida. So yeah.
Florida. And with that, how many deals over the last few years, how many deals a month do you typically wholesale?
And COVID times, obviously it was really good. So we were doing, 50 to 60 houses a month on average. So, we were busy.
I would imagine, man, 50 to 60 deals a month. Wow. Okay, so now, right now the market is shifting. So what do you see happening in the market that's shifting right now?
Well, obviously the biggest shift was that shift between, call it April and July and August,
2022, yeah?
Yeah, so everybody kind of, I think I call it FOMO or fear of missing out, right? So, or just scarcity mentalities, right? So, we had everybody put their house on the market, so inventory grew rapidly in both markets, right? So, but now everything's just kind of settling down and kind of, going back to business as usual. Obviously, interest rates are up, so, affordability comes into play. So when we just buy it, and they're like, well, how do you wholesale? I'm like, we just got to buy a little deeper. We were able to sell everything, so we were pay a little bit more. Now it's, you got to make that investor interested to jump off his fence because he's sitting on the fence right now. So you just got to buy a little deeper to make him get off the fence.
All right, I see that, yeah. Now, we're actually together right now at a real estate conference. We both belong for many years already to one of the top masterminds of, we're about the 200 top real estate investors in the country meet 4 times a year. And in the room right over there, they just talked about the market right now because we're in the late September right now, 2022. We're like later inside 2022 that they call it the gap. So we're in the gap right now, which is very typical when the market comes off a high, that you go from a market where you can buy at any price and sell at any price because prices keep going up, to a price where things are settling down a little bit and where the seller's still holding on to their top prices and the buyers now want to buy at the lower prices, right? Yeah. So how long do you have gone through multiple of these kind of iterations, how long typically does that gap period last?
Well, in the two I've been in, it lasts around 6-7 months, and I would expect to see this one in the 2007-8 gap. It lasted it started in mid 2007. Most people didn't realize it till 2008 and 9, but it really started in 2007 when the secondary market quit buying paper. So, and that gap really I didn't restart buying houses until about, I'd say, January, February 2008. So that late third and fourth quarter of 2007, I just stopped. And this isn't going to be as bad as a downturn.
No, I agree.
But I think it's this third and fourth quarter is just going to be slow. But then when you get back to January and people's memories get behind them, and people start
the new normal has settled in, right? And they're like, okay, price is now this. So if I want to sell, I got to sell at that.
Yeah.
And it's the same in the land area, same in the multifamily area. We're seeing the same thing over there. Now, with that said, your volume is off a little bit, but you're still flipping wholesaling how many houses a month right now?
Yeah, I think we did like 30, 31 in August. So, that's kind of our new normal, but I'm still happy with 30, 31 houses a month.
I would think so. Now, at the same time, man, you also were really big about your lifestyle. You're really big about enjoying life. It's not us all about hustle, hustle, hustle. It's about us enjoying. And I know you not very long ago bought a beautiful catamaran out in the Bahamas, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that first of all, and then and then on top of it, you have a fund, right? That you use for hard money lending. Actually, as a matter of fact, a few years ago, we bought our dream home, and for some reason or the other, financing needed about 4 weeks longer than we were hoping, and closing was coming up. The seller didn't want to extend closing, so we had to close on that date. So you actually ended up lending us money very short term to buy our house, and then get the financing lined up and gone. We have very complex financials, and any kind of lender usually takes 3 times as long to get through our financials. But so I know for a fact that how long did it take you? 3 days, right?
Yeah, I think we just take as long as title can figure it out. I mean, we lend at trustee sale, so that's the next day. We obviously like a little bit more time than that.
Right.
And obviously yours is a bigger deal, like over $1 million. So, we need a little bit more time with those, but that's what we are. We're a hard money lender. We're the solution for the fix and flipper that needs money quick. So,
Or for emergencies like the one we ran into. We did not want to let that dream home of ours go. It is still our dream home, and we will be in that house for a long time.
Yeah.
But now let's go back to the boat, right?
Yeah.
So now, how do you run a wholesaling operation in Arizona and in Florida, and a $40 million or something like that, or your multi-million-dollar private lending fund, all at the same time, while actually I see you constantly cruising out there in the Bahamas?
Well, it's
and you're engaged, right? Or are you married?
I just got married.
I just got married. Congratulations! You're newlywed. What's going on? What do you know that everyone else needs to know here?
Well, it's just it's kind of that work hard, play hard mentality. Even though I'm on a boat in the Bahamas, it doesn't mean my. What's great about real estate is your cell phone's always on you, right?
Right.
And some of my family probably gets annoyed at me because it's like, hey, let's go do this or let's go do this, and I'm like, I hop up at 6 a.m. and I go to the coffee shop in the Bahamas and I whip out the laptop and I, run through the comps I need to run through. I go through the emails I need to get through. So it's kind of just a balanced lifestyle, but it's also been really beneficial because my son, my daughter, my nephew, I'm partnered with my sister. So all of them have jumped in the business.
So you really made it a family business.
Oh yeah, it's a family business for sure.
And by the way, what you're describing is just simply the entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book that's called The 40-Hour Work Year right now. But there's no way in hell. This guy's brilliant, and he organized himself out of his business entirely. But there's no way in hell he truly only works 40 hours a year.
Yeah.
Because once you're the owner, you're an entrepreneur. You're still checking in on things. You're still doing things. You're still involved in some way or the other. And if you're not 100% out, you're living, breathing that business. It doesn't stop. It's like we go on vacations all over the place, but there's still a few things that I check on every single day. Right?
Yeah. So I'm me and my partner are the underwriters, so he vacations just as much as I do. They were up on the mountain, Machu Picchu, I think, is down in Peru, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no cell phone service up there. So, when he's gone, I'm the underwriter for is like, what can we pay for this property? How much can we lend on this? Because obviously you're just underwriting the dollars, and then all the rest of the people can take care of presenting the offer and doing all that other stuff. But when it comes to the dollars and cents, that's where I jump in.
Yeah, that's a hard one to outsource. And I know, like, even when it took us probably 7-8 years in our land flipping business to outsource the offer making.
Yeah.
To get to the point where somebody else had enough trust from us to know that the offer that they're going to make is the offer that's within a reasonable margin of what I would make. That takes a lot of trust. But that's also not something that if you're provided with all the proper underwriting information, it's not something that takes you forever to figure out.
No. My son and nephew have jumped into that, and I kind of now they do some of it, and I just get like there's those odd pieces. I'm sure there's odd pieces of land,
Yes,
just like there's
absolutely.
odd pieces of property. Maybe it backs a road, or it's in a subdivision that doesn't have like the same cookie cutter subdivision. So you're like, oh, what is it? Or multifamily, or a small
Yeah,
Those are the
multifamily is the exact thing. We got 2 acquisition managers. They underwrite everything, and then once they're ready, they just shoot me a message like, it's ready for your review.
Yeah.
And then I just go in, and based on my experience, I might tweak a few things on it, which then either kills the deal or makes the deal even better.
Yeah.
Right? And then based on that, we then move forward. Yeah. But that then takes me 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Once all the information.
Because all the information is assembled in a model that I can literally get the overview in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do the same thing then? Right?
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, my nephew and my son have learned a lot about it. So they do, the cookie cutter, obviously Phoenix is a new city. So 500 house subdivision, model match, easy, right?
That's definitely makes a big difference. Great. So now what's the trajectory look like for you from where we are right now into the future?
So we're in 2 cities. I would like to, and like I said, my nephew does Florida, my son does Arizona. My goal for them would be to move them into a managing position down the road to where they're handling, 2 or 3 different cities. So now we're in 6 cities, and then, continuing, and then, we're lending mostly in Arizona. We just opened up Florida. We manage about $50 million. So with Florida coming up, that 50 is going to go to 100 quickly. And then, maybe down the road, when you push enough money, then people start to pay attention to you, right? So, that $50 million range, it's kind of like, yeah, you're just a little guy, really. But when you can start pushing 100, 150, $200 million, then someone might pay attention to you enough to maybe make you an offer or something like that.
An offer to buy out your fund?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, that's the thing. Now, guys, that's the level of thinking I want you to think at, right? This is the level of thinking. It's not about flipping one house, flipping one piece of land, buying one kind of things. Yeah, let's talk about the multi-$100 million volume here, and at least conceive that it's possible. Because you didn't start out like that.
No, right? I started with a few $1 million from an old couple in Paradise Valley.
Right? That was saying like, hey, Chris, lend it out for me and make me some returns.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're probably very happy.
Yeah. No, they still actually. I got their daughter investing with me. Their son's friend.
Of course, yeah, because it's spread around.
Yeah.
Very nice. Great. So also, Chris, I wanted to give you a chance. Obviously, I know you also teach wholesaling at some level, right? You do a couple of times a year or so.
I do 3. I do little 3-day live events,
things like that. So how does somebody get a hold of you?
You can just follow me on Instagram, and then my education thing is called Just for Flips.
Just for Flips, all right, .com?
Yeah, justforflips.com.
Wonderful, justforflips.com, or just follow Chris Eymann. We're going to put the links and everything into the comments here, into the show notes. So, thank you very much. Well, one last word. We have a lot of beginning investors that watch us, or investors that are interested in the different kind of forms of real estate investing, or perhaps have done a bunch of deals already, but not to the scale that you have. Just overall word of advice, if somebody wants to get into that overall space, what do you say? What do you tell somebody?
Well, obviously, if you're kind of sitting on the fence, you need to get off the fence, right? I mean, action, action, action. And then obviously, like I said, I didn't have all these education, role models, mentors, none of that. It was I just had wake up, go to work every day, hustle, hustle, hustle. So that's kind of how I started. And I never let that die. Even if I'm in the Bahamas, I'm still up in the morning at 6 o'clock, checking my emails, doing my stuff. And so I think if you just have that mentality, it'll kind of carry you through everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for being on here. Well,
appreciate it.
So with that said, that concludes our episode right now. Again, make sure you give us a thumbs up if you're watching this on YouTube, a 5-star if you're watching this on iTunes, comment below, follow us, subscribe, whichever way you can do this on whichever platform you're seeing this, and we'll see you in the next show.